Good morning. This is the Blaine's World webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can get more information as well at our website, and you can find out previous shows, blainesworld.net, which is behind me. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. And each week, we focus on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce one of the most positive guys I know, and he is Caleb Owolabi, documentary filmmaker, as my guest today, and he already beat me to it, waved to all his fans and friends out there. So that's Caleb. Caleb, I should mention, is a television and media producer based here in Nashville. During his fourth year at college, he was recruited to work on an NBA pilot as a production assistant. Very cool. From then on, he has relished in TV and film, bringing new and fresh ideas to the screen from people in his own backyard. He definitely, as you'll see, loves what he does, using his educational background in business management and accounting and combining it with a talent for documentary filmmaking. And so, Caleb, the question I always ask folks, and I've asked you this in the past privately, is as a kid, you grew up where?
I grew up in Asheville. I'm an Asheville born and raised. That's kind of that's the hometown, home turf for me.
And when you were a kid,
More closer to Swananoa, Black Mountain area is where.
when you were a
More
kid growing
specific.
up in Asheville, this area, did you always know you wanted to be a documentary filmmaker?
No, not at all. I had no idea. I kind of was. I enjoyed. I enjoyed watching film. I enjoyed storytelling, but I didn't think I would. I didn't piece it together in this way, and producing film and TV. I never really thought of it that way. Like I said, until the HBO pilot in college, that I was recruited for. Until then, I had no idea this is even a job you can have. I remember growing up watching, people like Richard Gere and An Officer and a Gentleman, and seeing like oldies like Steve McQueen and his films, and I loved watching Tom Cruise, and Tom Cruise does his own stunts and he produced, but I never knew that it was real. I just felt like it was the fanciful world of film. But now I see it's possible even for a rural kid like myself.
As a kid, did you have camera? Were you shooting stuff on film?
I never really did that part. I like to play with toys. So I'd have action figures, figurines, and I'd have elaborate plots for these figurines. And so as much props as I could get, at that time it was just whatever toys we could get. So, I might have, my sister might have some Barbie dolls. Okay, so they have a role in this thing. And then I might have a couple other figurines, action figurines. And then my older brother had some cars, a few of the Hot Wheels cars. So those are inside the film. So to me, I did that a lot. And I started to go from I'm playing in the house on the carpet, right? To, hey, I can go outside and I can go to different terrain. So in a way, now I look back at it, I was really developing, and I was location scouting. I was doing all the things that I do now, but in a more kind of unabashed, childlike way. So yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that. It's a good question.
Too bad. Since you mentioned it, you mentioned two things that got my attention. Number one, too bad. Do you have any record of these things you taped as a kid? Wouldn't that be cool? You never kept records of it?
It would be amazing. I never, that's a brilliant. I tell you this, kids, if there are any kids listening now or get their hands on this podcast, they need to remember to, you see, now you can. You've got cell phones and all kinds of ways to record very easily. I think it's a good idea because I think the vocation of someone is examined much earlier in life than we think. Yeah.
But, you gave me another idea too, Caleb. I don't know if you recognized it, but you mentioned, you were using your sister's stuff and whatnot. Why don't you, forget a documentary film, you could actually make a film about Barbie. Why don't you one idea, Caleb? it's too bad somebody beat you to it though. But you could have
Right,
made,
right.
you could have made, if you still have your sister's Barbie dolls or something.
Yeah,
Could you imagine that? But by the way,
yeah.
that'd be kind of a cute film, though. The making of a
Would be.
documentary filmmaker, though. Talk about how
Yeah,
you started as a kid and
yeah.
went from there. So talk about then. So you then went to college. You went to school. Where'd you go?
I went to Montreat College.
Okay, that was
That's where
it.
I graduated, yeah, from my
And were
degree.
what were you studying there?
Well, actually, I spent 3.5 years at a place called Wingate University,
Right.
small private coeducational, school. And I played rugby. I was a rugby player, and I also was an accounting student. And then when I was recruited for the HBO pilot, I applied to be on set. It was a long story. I basically went to an interview, felt I did pretty good, but I needed to step the game up a little bit. So I used my school bucks to order everyone on set pizza the next day. I
Very.
sent it to there with a note from we using my school money. That everyone has the beginning of the year they give you
Right.
like school bucks or whatever. So I had enough to do that, and I think that was impressive, and landed that job, and that gave me insight that I needed. I got to tell you though, it took me away from my schooling, so I had to go back to school after I spent a year on that film, and I ended up finishing my conferred degree with a business management, a Bachelor of Science in Business Management. But I also had a year of experience on an HBO pilot as well
By the
to
way,
tell.
great bit of advice you gave people also here too, that
Yeah,
food works. So the pizza eventually
yeah.
paid off. Did that pilot ever get off the ground?
It never got off the ground. It was, I gotta say, it was a lesson learned about the business. There are so many ideas, so many pilots that are in development that never get off the ground. And it may even get into where you're filming. You're actually in what we call production, where cameras are out, crew is hired, interns are either hired or are working pro bono for credit, and the film still doesn't get made, or still maybe doesn't see the light of day. So that was the case we were in, is that it was made, but it just never saw the light of day from a distribution standpoint. That taught me never to leave anything on the table, and never to bring anybody involved in a production without counting the cost for which, we can get everything from development to production, all the way to distribution and print and advertising, because you want to have P&A dollars as well on the front end. So I was an accounting student. I was a business student. It was clear to me budgeting, and I learned that film wasn't as much fun as we had. It wasn't budgeted very well. And so I learned that after that, we need to be lean. We need to be focused on what's important and the hard cost when it comes to production. And we need to always leave room for P&A, for print and advertising. It's imperative. So everything from documentary to commercial to short film to I don't care what it was. Always want to know, what's for our pre-production costs, production costs, post-production costs, print and advertising, or red carpet rollout, as they like to say, and distribution. I like to know what's in the piggy bank for all of those, to have a successful piece.
One of the things, Caleb, that's always impressed me with you is the fact that you always have all these ideas. Like whenever I meet you, it's kind of fun to speak with you because you're always working on something new or something different. And
Yeah,
I'll use that to kind of segue into one thing I saw you do not too long ago. I was very impressed with it. It was a very short documentary about a dentist.
sure.
And what was
Yeah.
that behind? What was your thinking behind that, or what was the story there?
Yeah, that was an incredible story. I mean, Amazon Prime picked it up, and I'm really impressed with that, because it was a local Asheville story, and a dentist I met in town, the Dr. Perry Stamatides, incredible man first, incredible family man first and foremost, but also great businessman and a dentist, and he has this private practice, where he does one free day of dentistry every single year. And he's been doing this for a decade. So when I met him, okay, through mutual friends, I learned about this. I said, this is incredible. I mean, this is a story in and of itself. He hadn't had much press on it. And so I said, I wonder if he doesn't have any press because he's likely humble and he doesn't want to make a big deal about it. And we got to the point that he wanted something that would encourage more people to come out and do the same thing. And so it was so brilliant. And he really, I got to give Dr. Perry Statement-Tides, he executive produced the project. He really quarterbacked this thing all the way. All of his team was on board. They were so nice to all of our crew when we came in and every day in the office and filming this. And it created this really amazing, heartfelt documentary. We showed it at the Regal Grand in Biltmore Park.
Very cool.
To a standing ovation. Some people were crying. People were touched by the story. And it's just amazing how in rural Asheville, North Carolina, all of these stories can be created. And you don't have to be in Hollywood to have a story that touches people and that encourages them to give back to their community or encourages them to be better to their friends, their families, or whoever their neighbor may be.
Well, as you said, that was my impression of the dentist also, that he wasn't doing it to toot his own horn. He was just doing it. It's such a great story. And
Yeah.
such a good job with the documentary. And talk about then, so Amazon, that's now available. People could see if they wanted to.
Yeah, Servants of Smile. It was called Servants of Smile. If you go to Amazon Prime and just look up Servants of Smile, it's there, and they could watch it there. And I think if you're a close friend of Dr. Perry Statement-Tides, he probably has a copy under his office desk or something that you could watch. So you could just, if you're a client there or you visit, or he's just such a giving man, and he wanted to make sure not only people will know about it in Nashville, but other dental offices, and so we actually have had ongoing conversations. The American Dental Association has reached out on behalf, of the documentary. Our press had sent something out to them and they reached out. We've been talking about collaborating, and honestly, it's like so many emails have come. I don't even have time to look through all of them. And, between being on set and looking at those emails and trying to follow through on it, but it was well received, and I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful for it. And I honestly think that could be episodic, similar to what I, with the Rotating Chef, how, it's a full season long show. So,
I'm seeing it as you're talking about. I'm seeing that also. As you
Yeah.
said, everybody has a story to tell, and they're
Right.
telling a story that's a positive story, and they're not doing it for the money. Just love the story. So talk about
Right.
that. So that documentary is out again. Name of it is what?
Servants of Smiles.
And just look on the Amazon, you'll find it.
Just on Amazon Prime. On Amazon Prime. Yeah.
So talk about that particular one. Then we'll go to your latest one. So where did you get the idea for that? Somebody introduced you to him, or he was your dentist, or how did you come up with that idea?
You know what? No, I never. I was at I guess it was like a business meetup in town, and you remember Blaine used to. I remember in my early days, for those viewers that don't know, that Blaine used to take me to the different business networking meetings. I don't know if you probably remember that time, and but anyway, similar to something like that, it was. It was just a one I went to. He was there and some other business professionals, and someone had invited me. That's what happened. Someone invited me and I went with her and I sat and just to listen. And you know, and all these people had amazing businesses and great stuff to say. And you look at me with lowly, production company, doing local stories, and stories of lifestyle and family and education. And I honestly didn't feel like I had anything to contribute. But Dr. Statement-Tides, out of everyone there, felt really passionate about sharing what he felt about what I could highlight. And I noticed he was just such a creative creative guy, and we're really similar in the way we think. And so we then said, we gotta meet up sometime. Like, he gave me his number and his business card, and months later we met up for coffee, and the rest is history. We just then started talking about what he's got going on. And when I learned about the day of dentistry that he gives out free, I was astonished that not enough people know about this. And I think it became an affordable healthcare story.
Well,
you
and
know
I love your point, and let's talk about it off there sometime about the possibility of taking that
Mhm.
concept and running with it. But it's
Yeah,
a perfect segue, Caleb, to something else you're involved in now. I'll just digress a little bit to mention
yeah,
how we came up with the idea for this particular show. So all of a
yeah,
sudden, I'm watching the news on WLOS, and I
yeah,
see all of a sudden see Caleb talking about a new idea, a new concept you have, and talk
yeah.
about that one because I think it's another winner for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I teamed up with Stephanie Swepson Twitty of Eagle Market Street Development Corp. And they're an incredible nonprofit. They're CDFI, so they help with economic development. Those who aren't able to, they're small businesses or they're first time business owners. They don't have the capital to get going. They help them find resources or connect them with other people. So similar to what Mountain BizWorks does, and Mountain BizWorks does a great job over there as well. Matt Raker and the folks at Mountain BizWorks, and I Stephanie, she like my dad's a professor at Montreal College, has taught so many people in his marketing class, and she was one of his students, back in the day, and she'd always remembered that. And so when I started to after college and I started to show up on the scene, she kind of took me under her wing because she knew my dad. I got to tell you, I don't know another woman that is as driven and as successful in getting done these incredible feats of grandeur as Stephanie. I mean, I've not seen anyone operate in that, not just a lady, but just anybody in general. It's just incredible what she's been able to accomplish. She comes to me and we have coffee one day and we start talking about the idea of doing a show, I guess featuring homegrown food from the garden, farm to table. And she really was the inspiration behind that idea. At this time, I didn't really come with the idea. I mean, we kind of collaborated on it, and she said, we should do something called the Rotating Chef. And said, "Well, that's an interesting name." She didn't think she was naming it at the time, but
Right.
to me, it sounded like a perfect name. I said, "That is perfect. We should call it that." And at that time, there was there was no one that claimed a domain, so we purchased the domain, and my team went ahead and we actually started to build a website. That was the first thing we did, just to kind of share about what our ideas were and more so storyboard in our case. 2 years later, we're filming a season one, and some people ask me, Caleb, what is your process and how you get through to doing all this? And it's just you just keep trying, keep knocking on doors, keep calling, making Zoom calls, answering emails, visiting people, coffee. You just keep pushing your story if it's a good story. And it started out, we tried a pilot where it was in front of a live audience, and we loved the format. It yielded a bit cost prohibitive. Well, not just cost prohibitive, but structurally it would be difficult to have an audience every single time. So for our season one, when we had the opportunity to shoot a season one, we opted to just focus on one chef that's really giving back to the community, that's doing cooking classes, that's eating farm to table. And that's even actually publishing their recipes. Well, we found that in Miss Shaniqua Samuel. Shaniqua Samuel does this for the Shiloh community. She does this for all kinds of different organizations in Asheville. She has her own platform where she's publishing her recipes, which is called Change Your Palate. She is the perfect person to place inside of this first season. So, we highlighted her. She became the star of our show, and I filmed 6 episodes. And those were also picked up by Amazon Prime, and it looks like there's some interest as well with iFood.tv, and it's gaining a lot of steam. And I think they're putting together a screening of it for all the community members as well in March. So
because I think I saw the first episode of a show you put together. But
yeah,
now it's under name is what name of the show is?
it's called The Rotating Chef.
Okay, and so people look under Amazon Prime, they'll be able to find it?
Yeah, they'll find all 6 episodes there, The Rotating Chef. But in case you don't have an Amazon Prime membership,
Right.
there will be a free screening in March. Just tune in for that information. I think Explore Asheville will put out a flyer, and of course the Eagle Market Street will put out a flyer about that. But just to let people know, there will be a free screening. So
Let me know
yeah.
also, I'll put in Blaine's World, I'll mention that to the
Absolutely. So, but I'm not gonna say I don't. You asked me the date and time. I'm not over
Sure.
all of that. I mean, they have the Eagle Market Street has their own marketing team that's putting all that information out. So,
Yeah. Well, let me ask you also, Caleb, do you have, or you used to have, I know, do you have your own website?
yeah, I do. Callcaleb.com. If you wanted to learn a little bit about who I am and some of my projects, you can just reach out on callcaleb.com. That's CALLCALEB.com.
And I love it
Like
because again,
call Caleb.
makes sense, but also there, you're going to put up, when you have the dates and times, put up the information about this series as well there.
Absolutely. Well, people can check it out, on our social media and our other. I mean, these days there's so many ways to find out about an event. It's incredible. But I think there's also going to be a flyer sent out, email sent out by a couple of different organizations that are talking about the screening. So, and of course, you can always. I think Blaine, we can certainly, get you a copy or something for those. For those
For sure.
trusted Blaine's World
subscribers. Well, talk about the fact that, and excuse me, I think we're being interrupted. So my cat wants to say hello.
Oh, hello, Kitty. What's your cat's name?
That cat's name is Kismet.
Kismet. I love it. I love it.
Sorry about that. But anyway, so how do you choose then? So you mentioned the one woman's name. How do you choose the other people to be on the series?
So Stephanie felt really strongly about Shaniqua, as did I, and we had a conversation about that. And Shaniqua was incredible, and she really showed a lot of interest and just looking at her resume and everything she was doing. But quite frankly, we are constantly looking at stories now. I mean, I was just telling a friend, I said, we need to start a publishing house because so many people have stories and there's so many amazing. I mean, there's one incredible chef in town named Ofri with Asheville Mountain Kitchen, Ofri Hirsch. She's got an incredible story, and I've become a friend of hers, and I'm so grateful because she lets me try her food every now and then, and it is incredible. And so, she's an incredible chef. She has an incredible story. She would have an incredible show. I mean, she does a very unique cuisine that is not done everywhere. I feel like when we go about finding who's going to be in shows, we just go with who we're presented with at the moment. That's kind of our outfit now because we're still small. But I think as we're expanding and obviously more of our presence is being felt on the media airways, we want to start looking at ways to engage more storytellers, more lifestylists, whether you're in real estate, whether you're a chef, whether you engage in interpretive dance. Yoga is a really big one. Yoga. So I'm gonna just put that out there in the universe for anyone that has a serious proclivity towards yoga. I think that could be an incredible show, and an episodic show at that.
Well, feel free, Caleb, as you always do. When we're up there, I have a couple ideas on that I want to share with you. And
Yeah,
feel free to introduce me to people, just like I'll introduce you to people. But going back
yeah.
to the food show, so the idea, if somebody tunes in on this, they'll learn about the person. Will they learn about cooking, or will they learn about what will they learn if they watch the show?
Well, this show it's very educational. So we start out with a recipe. Every episode has a recipe. And so that's your basic, for those who watch a lot of Food Network or a lot of cooking shows, it's your chef inside the kitchen showing the host how to make something, okay, how to make a recipe. So we do that one of those in every episode. So you'll learn how to make one recipe from scratch that's farm to table or using fresh organic ingredients. And let me tell you, I tried it because I was the host of this show, and everything was really delicious. And I really hope people you don't have to write anything down. You can just play it back nowadays with streaming, and everything's on Amazon Prime. But these recipes are incredible. They're easy to do. And Shaniqua shows you how to do it. Then we go into her life and show how she goes about networking in the community in a healthy and positive way, because she's an advocate for healthy eating, okay, and for farm to table eating. She believes it's important for her community, which she's based out of the Shiloh community, which, if many people don't know about the Shiloh community, they'll know it's an historically Black community in Asheville. And so there's a community garden there that's been there for, I mean, decades and decades. Potentially, I mean, I don't know how long. It's a very, very long time that they've tended to that garden. And she's a big proponent, as well as on the board there for that Shiloh Community Garden. So we talk a little bit about that history. We venture into one of her hip hop dance classes that she takes with a local community member. I mean, this is from scratch. This is not like Zumba or Taibo or any classes you might find at Planet Fitness. This is like somebody that is a local Ashevillean that has a hip hop dance class and invites the people in the community, and they all come and they for an hour sweat and dance and have a great time. And I on the show was in one of those classes, and you'll see it. And I literally almost fainted. I mean, this is a high intense class, and they didn't let me know about it. But my associate producer ensured that I better bring my tennis shoes and my gym clothes for that episode. And I mean, you'll see it's all on the show.
The name is escaping me, but she works with another guy
Yeah.
who does the dance. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was a guest of one just recently. We was talking about this dance class, which blew me
Oh,
away.
see,
But I know who you're talking about. And
yeah, yeah,
the two of them work together. Caleb, something you said about trying to tell different stories. If people want to get involved with you, for example, to
yeah,
have you tell their story, where they want to
yeah.
become a producer as well, they want to get involved in this, what's the best bet?
Well, at this point I have an agent now that I kind of bring things to help me with just so many emails and inquiries, and so I can give that information over to you so you can kind of put it out there, because I don't want to just put all of her information out there. But you know what? Honestly, apart from that, people that know me, and I'm a local guy, so I'm around. I go to the same restaurants everyone else goes to. I don't. I'm around town, and if I'm not traveling, and I mean, people just stop me and ask. And I had someone reach out about wanting to do a story this summer. It was really, really, really captivating, but it was almost a really heartbreaking story. And I was torn because I was like, boy, I'd never done something that eerie before, that, everything is really a positive, uplifting that I've done. So but I was like, man, maybe we'll look at this. And, if I don't know, if I don't produce it myself, I know other great producers out there, and there's a small community when it comes to the world of documentary filmmaking and television, especially if you're talking about North Carolina, much less the Southeast. And I was at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, and I went with another media maven and friend and mentor of mine named Bill Binford. And Bill, he is affectionately known as Bill of Cable, for his time working with Verizon, and he created the first Latin-inspired Verizon Fios, and ran with that back in the early 2000s. But anyways, he's quite a veteran now, and we went to CES in Las Vegas, the Consumer Electronics Show, this January, and he showed me at one point. He pointed out to this group of people, and then it was just like a bar, and everybody was around this kind of mezzanine, and they were talking and sharing libations and chatting. He says, "Listen, Caleb, everybody that's in your field, literally, that you need to know is all in that space." And it put it in perspective how small there. I mean, there was a lot of people there, but it wasn't, when you think about an entire industry and how many, probably billions of dollars, in advertising and spend, and and it's just television. I'm not talking about all of entertainment. It was incredible to know how small of a community is. So that being said, if someone gets a hold of me, and if I can't produce something that they want, I'm sure there's a producer I can refer them to.
Caleb, down the road, I'll put you on the spot. Where do you see yourself in 10 years from now?
Oh man, 10 years, probably, hopefully, on a stage again with you, doing another show, another musical. I hope maybe a Mel Brooks musical again. But no, I love I want to get back to the stage, Blaine, and producing for stage. And it's funny, I kind of almost like want to reduce my footprint. Like, I want to make it big, like nationwide. I want to produce more syndicated television, but I then want to be able to come back to a local theater and and produce some incredible works there, and go back to my roots of Shakespeare in the Park. And shout out to all of the people at Montford Park Players, and ACT Asheville Community Theater, and I'm gonna miss somebody, but these are all places where I went and I would act, and I would meet other creators and performers, and it doesn't cost anything. You audition, and if you get a role, great. If you get into the ensemble, awesome, and or go and support them if you don't get in the show, and
you gave a great
that's a good way to start. Yeah.
You gave a great example too. It's another way to be sharing with the community, is taking your stories and then showing it like you did for the dentist. I thought that was an example that you show your work and then other people see it. Caleb, I'd like to thank you for being my guest on this edition of the Blaine's World website.
Thank you.
Webcast. I'd also like to thank my producer, Cappy Tissetti. And hopefully,
yes, Cappy. I love Cappy.
Okay, and sooner rather than later, we'll bump into each other again. Thanks, man.
We will. Thanks, Blaine.